All right, everyone. Well, I'm Jeff Tate with BTX. Thanks for joining us today. This webinar is being recorded and everyone will receive a link to the recording tomorrow. So today is all about commercial audio. We've got our expert team from Optimal Audio to walk us through their approach in about 20 minutes. So plenty of time afterward for Q&A after the presentation. Please use the Q&A feature down at the bottom of your screen. We'll plenty of time to get to all of those questions. Here to present for Optimal Audio, we got Al McKinna, who's the product manager, and Robin Dibble, product support engineer. So gentlemen, thank you, and let me turn it over to you.
Thanks, Jeff. Much appreciated. Thank you, everybody, for joining. We really appreciate your time today. Myself and Robin are going to take you through the Optimal Audio ecosystem, giving you a good overview of all the products and a little view into the user interface. I'm going to begin by giving you an overview of who we are, and then Robin will take you through each of the products that make up the Optimal Audio solution, so the ecosystem that Optimal Audio is. Then we'll give you a little real-time demo of our web app, our user interface, the thing that really interacts with the customers who operate the Optimal Audio system. And then, as Jeff says, there'll be a nice little bit of Q&A at the end. So let's kick off. So who are we? Well, Optimal Audio is a new commercial audio brand. But we're, unlike many startups, we're actually part of a very large audio manufacturer, the Focusrite Group, Focusrite PLC, one of the largest manufacturers of audio in Europe and one of the largest manufacturers of audio products in the world. Now, what that means for us as a new brand, it means that firstly, we have a great lineage and legacy and expertise in audio design, particularly in our companies such as Martin Audio, Focusrite Pro, and we're backed by a large manufacturer that has a lot of resources that can be applied to our development efforts and our marketing and channel efforts. So we're a new brand with a kind of startup lean ethos, but powered, if you like, by a significant manufacturer behind us. We're taking a new approach to commercial audio. So when approaching this market, we looked at it and thought, well, there's quite a lot of complexity here. There's a lot of products, many doing similar things. There's a lot of different categorizations. You need to really have a deep understanding of the kind of legacy of audio and complex audio systems in order to navigate this world. What we wanted to do was to take a different approach to commercial audio and simplify it as much as we could. So what we end up with is a system that's easy to operate, easy to understand, therefore easy to educate and easy to install. And we do that with our ecosystem solution, our ecosystem approach to our product line. We take a very, very simple categorization of our products when creating our solution. We categorize them as controllers, amplifiers, and loudspeakers, all working together, optimized in their solution approach, and all kind of powered by the central user interface that we call web app. And what this means is it's really easy to navigate through our solution, understand the products that make up our product line, and therefore easy to educate your customers and your end users in how to operate the Optimal Audio system. We take this reducing complexity approach to all of the system design, all of the product design, and the user interface that we have within the Optimal Audio ecosystem. The system diagram here just shows you how controllers, amplifiers, and loudspeakers all couple together to make the Optimal Audio solution. You can see at the top we have our zone pad wall controllers connecting into our zone processor, which is really the heart of the system, the DSP, the signal routing, the audio processing, which is powered or non-powered. When non-powered, connecting, of course, to our amplifiers, which also have integrated DSP, smart amplifiers, and then to our range of loudspeakers, which are in 3 formats: our up series into the ceiling, our cuboid series for on wall, and our sub series for that low frequency extension. That's a little overview of our product line. Robin will take you now through the details of each product and each product category that makes up that ecosystem.
Thanks, Al. So let's start by having a look at the heart of the system, and that is the multi-zone audio controllers. all of which have full DSP on board and can be had with or without onboard power amplifiers. They're very flexible devices with 6 stereo inputs and 3 mic inputs to address either 4 or 8 zones. Those zones can address up to 16 channels, so it's perfectly possible with a combination of onboard and external power amplifiers to have 8 stereo zones with a zone 8P, for example. Convenient front panel controls, very easy to understand, kind of user interface that most people are going to be familiar with from domestic equipment. You select a room or zone that you want to control, you select your audio source and you adjust the volume. It really is that simple. For more advanced applications, we have the web app, which controls the device on 2 levels, either an installer level and a user level. And as you'll see with Al shortly, there's a great deal of flexibility into what you can look out and what access you can give users of the controls within the device itself. It's a really exciting product. It's something I've been looking for years. It plugs that gap between the old school analog switch and volume control kind of zone controllers and a full-on open platform DSP with a structured approach, but with phenomenal power on board. So we'll take a look at the back panel of the 8P because that kind of summarizes everything that's in the range. From the left, you have the fan grill for cooling for the power amplifier stage and also for the power supplies. You have the mains inlet on a standard 3-pin connector. Ethernet connector and the alarm mute. Above that, you just put a closing contact across the alarm mute to mute the box in its entirety. The wall controller inputs are all on RJ45. It's not Ethernet at that point. I should point out it's a completely in-house protocol that's used as a standard Cat5e, Cat6, Cat7 cable and there's a socket for a controller in each of the zones. Then finally, you have connection points for 2 forthcoming paging stations, or they can also be used for 4-zone controllers, which we'll see in just a moment. This is the 8P, so you have 8 100-watt speaker outputs. These are now bridgeable also, so you can get up to 4 70-volt outputs from the device itself. And then you have the 8 balanced line outputs as well. The SD card there is used for firmware updates, and then we have our 6 inputs across the back. So at the top, 2 microphone inputs with an analog preset EQ on the back. Then we have stereo inputs 1, 2, 3, and 4. The first one is available as balanced, unbalanced, or digital SPDIF connection. The others as balanced or unbalanced, straightforward analog audio. 5 and 6 can be balanced audio, or they can be audio stripped through from an HDMI stream. So it'll take audio off, then you pass the image through to a subsequent screen. Bottom right-hand corner, you have the input trim controls for channels 1 to 4 to adjust the gain to suit whatever input you're connecting. Front panel on the left, you see our zone selection. So this is the point at which you select a room which you want to control. So let's say you hit button 1. Then the source buttons you can see down the middle of the panel. Those can be labeled up, custom labeled up with your individual sources, and can also be done in the web app. You select which source you want, and then you adjust the volume control with the knob labeled music. That simple and straightforward. We then have level controls for mic 1 and mic 2. Again, same process, select your zone, adjust the volume, select another zone, adjust the volume in that. Or you can adjust all zones simultaneously with the all zone button above, and the paging level control to the right for forthcoming products. The indicators on the front panel give you the ability to see what status the zone processor is in. It also gives installers the opportunity to say to their customers, tell me what color the lights are on the front panel, and you can define whether you need to fix it yourselves, send somebody out there, or whether it's something that the user can do themselves. So these next are the zone pads. They're the wall controllers that you put in individual zones. Zone pad 1 controls a single zone, so you would put it in each zone that you have on your zone controller. It's touch sensitive and just provides selection of any of your music sources or a local input. The zone pad 1 has a balanced line input for mono audio and a microphone. So those channels will address just the zone that they're in, and they're selected by the center button on the control. And of course, you have volume control on the front panel, all very simple, all very straightforward. Connects to the zone unit itself via a straightforward Cat5, Cat6 cable. Close-up view of it, there's your source selectors. You can see nice, clean touch panel. You can remove the front Perspex panel and replace the graphics behind with something that's branded for your customer. And you have your local source selector, overall system source selectors, and your mic music volume selector and control. So when you press that button in the center of the volume control, if music is lit up, you're controlling the music volume. If mic's lit up, you're controlling the mic. Zone pad 4, same idea, but this controls 4 zones. So it works in exactly the same way as the front panel on the zone device itself. Select the zone you want to control, select its source, and change the volume as appropriately. Now, the local source button on here applies to the individual zones, not this device itself. This one doesn't have the local inputs, but what it does allow you to do is to go to zone 2 and select zone 2's local source and adjust its volume appropriately. There we go. There's a close-up view of the zone 4. As I said, exactly the same layouts, pretty much as the front panel of the zone itself, very logical and intuitive. And like the zone pad 4, you can change the graphics behind. There are templates available on the website so that you can brand it up appropriate to the installation.
Okay, thanks.
I'm going to hand you back to Al, and Al's going to take you through the web app.
Absolutely. Thanks, Robin. Appreciate that. So the web app you can think of as being the kind of central user interface. Aside from the zone pad wall controllers, the web app is the main interface that customers, the actual owner of the devices once installed, will interact with. So we're going to dive into that, and I'll give you a quick overview of it. The first thing to highlight is that it is cross-platform. It's platform agnostic, actually. So as it's a web interface, it can operate through any browser, which means it's supported by any smart device. You can run it on your laptop there. You can run it on any kind of laptop. You've got it on iPads, on phones. Anything that has a web browser can access our interface, and of course, therefore, we can scale it to match the resolution of your interface, which is great. So no going through specific app design. It's all available right for you, supporting every platform that we have. Now, in order to take you through it, I'm going to show you a live instance of it. Here we go. So this is the kind of top page. The first thing that operators will reach when they start controlling their zones, and really kind of think of this as a kind of window into the amazing processing and control capabilities that the heart of the system, the zone processors, have. And we've organized it in a very clear way. As I've outlined earlier, the ethos for optimal audio is to make the design and operation really, really simple. So we can provide a huge amount of processing complexity, but we'll take that and put it under the hood and then present to the user the most, in a very clear and simple way, the controls that they need. What you can see here is zones. So this is where you can access the sources and the level controls of the things that are feeding a particular room. You have presets, global presets, so storing the settings that you've created within the zone, and then processor, and then recalling them later. Routines, an ability to recall those presets based on a time of day, which allows you then to kind of automate the system. And settings, just packaged off slightly from the other areas of the device, allows you to do that kind of more deep dive audio processing capabilities and parameter control that you don't necessarily want your customers to access, and that can be locked out by a PIM. Now, this is the page that customers are going to be really interacting with mostly, and so what you can see here is the feeds, the inputs, if you like, into the zone. Zones down here on the left-hand side, all custom labeled for the area of the facility that they're feeding, and then the inputs that are coming into that zone and their respective levels. What you can see for each zone is a music volume, a mic, a zone mic, so the mic that's plugged in locally to the to the zone pad wall controller, and then the two system mics that Robin showed you on the rear panel of the zone unit. The music source, the one that's feeding this fader here, can be set by looking at this drop-down list that says either do you want the local source or do you want one of the global sources, one of the 6 inputs on the back of the zone processor to be the feed of that particular control there. What we can do also is we can scale the components of the user interface to just give the control to the customer that they need access to. If they don't need access to the system mics, just remove them out of the interface within our settings page and just give them the 2 faders, the 2 little sliders that they need. And that's it. Incredibly simple. So what they can see there is the levels, it's all labeled up. They're getting a meter to show that something's working, and then an indication of what is the thing that is feeding that music source. And of course, they can navigate through their other zones here. Back up to the top page, very, very simple. And then we have presets and routines, our ability to automate the capabilities, the parameters within the zone. So we can store global settings there, and we can recall them later, and we can link them to a time of day. So we can hit an edit for any one of these routines, set a day of the week, set a time, and we can then recall a preset or a number of presets from the routines page. Moving into settings, you can think of this as the area where an installer would want to access, set it up, and then leave it. And here, there is deep processing. Zone is a very, very powerful unit. It's almost like a digital mixer. It is that level of capability. And what we've done is kind of brought those capabilities of controlling all of the different processing elements of the inputs and the outputs into this page. And we've organized it really by signal flow. So you can access all of those 6 inputs on the rear of the zone, access their fixed band, sorry, not their fixed band, their EQ, 1-band EQ, set level trim and such. Then we can get into our microphones, and again we can see here the 3-band plus the HPF that we can apply to the EQ compressor for each of the different microphones that are feeding the zones. Sorry, they're on the rear panel of the zone. And then we can actually get into the inputs that are local or discrete to the zone, and we can access all of the settings there again. So we still have we have the EQs for the line inputs, for the mic inputs, a bunch of capability here for us to configure the visibility for what things are going to be shown within the user interface for that particular zone. And then we have a huge amount of capability when we go into looking at our line outputs and our amp outputs, both of which we consider to be discrete processing channels. So what do I mean by that? Well, what I mean is you have the ability to firstly decide where each of the what the signals within the zone unit are that are feeding a particular output. It's not fixed, it's patchable like a digital patch bay, and you can do that from here. And in addition to that, we have the ability to process this line output as a discrete entity from our amp output, meaning all of these processing blocks here, the EQ, the crossovers, limiters, the 2 EQs that we've got, both 3-band, are all discrete for that particular line output from the amp output, which also has the same level of capability as well. So what that means is that we end up with a very, very flexible system with a huge amount of control and a huge amount of audio processing available to you. Within this page for our amp outputs as well, we have this new capability that will be coming in our new version of software that we call, which is a bridging mode, which will give us that 70-volt line output capability. In addition to that, we can lock out the system, lock out the settings with a passcode, and we have deep installer settings here as well, where we can get our logs that tell us exactly what's been happening with the system, so we can do any kind of fault finding if we need to. And this almost like a universe page that shows you the meters for everything that is coming into the system. So that's just a little overview of the power of web app. It's it can be configured to be as simple as possible for your customers to navigate around, and is as deep as the zone processor itself in the level of control and access of audio processing elements. So with that, I'm going to hand back to Robin, who'll take us through the rest of the ecosystem.
So we're coming
Thanks,
up on
Al.
about 20 minutes, Robin, just so you know. We can go
Yeah, no, I'm aware. I'm just going to
so you know.
go through
Yep.
very top level. Has that
Oops,
started
sorry.
from the beginning again now?
It has. If you just give me one moment, I'll just move
No
to
worries.
amplifiers and over to you.
Okay, so a very quick top level view of the rest of the OA products. Let's start with the amplifiers. So there are 3 amplifiers available to add to the line outputs of the zone, the 10, 20, and 30. They are all a universal pass supply, work anywhere in the world, internal DSP for all the optimal audio loudspeakers, very flexible 2 or 4 channel amplifiers. The 10 and the 20 have a very unique feature called power sharing, which means you could, for example, have a 200-watt load on one channel and a 40-watt load on the other. It will automatically balance the power at 70-watt line between the channels that are available. That applies on both the 10 and 20, but not on the 30. And they're either 125 or 250 watts each, and they will direct drive 70 or 100-watt line or down to 4 ohms. The loudspeakers that they can be driving. So we have the up series of ceiling loudspeakers. There's one for pretty much every application, from a single 4-inch open back device, which runs just a 100-watt line, or a whole series of products from a full range 3-inch through 2 4-inch coaxes and 2 6-inch coaxes of different form factors, all of which are selectable between 100-watt line, 70-watt line, 8 or 16 ohms in the case of the 6-inch versions. Then we have the on-wall product, Cuboid. Cuboid is a range of great sounding, punchy, dynamic, extremely cost-effective loudspeakers with every size from a 3 right the way through to 15-inch drivers. 3 and 5, this is your exclusive preview of brand new product that we are launching next week. Very compact, discrete speakers with a 3-inch or 5-inch low frequency device coupled with a tweeter. And later on, there are transformer versions of both to come. 130 by 120 coverage, but even coverage through outer space without having to have too many speakers. Then the larger models, 8 through to 15, all 2-way, all have a constant directivity horn, 90 by 50 on the smaller, 80 by 50 on the larger, speak-on connectors on the back, and all the hardware you need to mount them on the wall or overhead. Then we have the 2 subs in the range to complete the series. Sub 10, a very small, compact, punchy little sub with outstanding performance for its size, designed to fit inside seating, under banquettes, under tables, that kind of thing, inside planters, or it can be wall or ceiling mounted to accompany ceiling speakers or wall speakers. Then the large one, the sub 15, gives you great punchy dynamic performance right the way down to 40 hertz. Great for floors around clubs, small live music venues, smaller churches, etc., etc. And that's it from me. I'm going to hand you over to Ricky and to our marketing director, James King, for any questions.
Hey, thank you, guys. That was fantastic. Appreciate it. I know there's at least one question in the question and answer there.
And Jeff, I'll just interject here as well, just at this point. We're also joined by Matt Rowe, who's our engineering manager at Optimal Audio. So perhaps Matt will be able to jump on and answer a couple of questions too. And of course, as you just outlined, James King is here from who leads our marketing team. So both guys are available as well to jump in and answer any of your questions.
So the first question is, can you see them?
Yeah, I can see them. Yeah, we can see those, Jeff. Thank you. No, the subs are low impedance only, is the answer to your question, Dwayne. The max distance between the controller amplifiers, I think, is about 1 mile, if I remember correctly. I'm sure Matt will jump in if I'm wrong.
So that's the distance between the zone pad and the zone controller is 300 meters. That question suggests audio there, doesn't it, between controller and amps?
That standard balanced line, Cliff. So between controllers and amps, a normal balanced line of regulation applies. So pretty much as long as you like, but the longer the cable, you'll start getting some HF attenuation if you get to really long lengths. Haley, other options for mounting. So the Cuboid 3 and 5 come with their own wall brackets. The larger ones, the Cuboid 8 through to 15, have yokes for ceiling mounting and wall brackets as well, available as accessories.
They also have rigging points on them, the bigger ones.
Yes, Jeff, there are M8 hook points, mounting points all over the cabinets as well. Yes, if you want to use some sort of custom arrangement. Sonny, I think I'll let you, Matt, answer your question there about room combining. I think that is, Matt.
It's yes, there's a feature that's on our list for development. A little bit of work to do to work out how controllers interact with the routing change, which is the simple part of combining rooms. So that will be in a future version. Yes.
Mark, yes, there is delay available on every output on zone up to, what's the maximum, Matt, each output?
100 milliseconds on every
100
output.
milliseconds, there you go.
All 16 outputs, that is.
Haley, can we just go back through the presentation, Al, to look at the back of the controller again, please?
Absolutely.
So you've got, on the back, Haley, you've got standard Phoenix connectors, Phoenix type connectors for balanced inputs. And you have phono for high impedance, conventional domestic type interface. Channel 1 also has a coaxial digital input. Then you have 5 and 6 with the option of either balanced audio input, or they can strip audio from an HDMI feed.
Worth mentioning at this point that the balanced inputs are up to plus 20 dBU, so you've got lots of headroom there.
And in addition, of course, we have the local inputs being fed by the zone pads. So we can have a microphone on every zone pad locally, plus line inputs on each zone pad. And we can have as many zone pads feeding the system as we have zones of the unit. So at that point, it becomes very, very powerful in terms of its input count.
That's why I think it's about 28 channels in total.
Dwayne, yeah, the ceiling speakers are shipped with bridges. Any plan for Bluetooth audio source integration into the controller? Something that we're looking at for future products. Haley, Matt, anything to add?
The plan there is to do a wall-mounted panel with Bluetooth on it, which integrates nicely with ZonePad.
Does somebody want to jump on the lead time and availability questions?
BTX currently has inventory on, I believe, all of the parts, and there's more coming in all the time. Does
Kevin,
go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, Kevin, no, it's standard Cat 5e or Cat 6, doesn't need to be shielded.
BTX does have pricing we can get out to you, Dwayne.
Dimitri, we don't have a pendant yet. What you've seen today is what's currently available, though it's the whole product offering is changing as we move through time and as we get feedback from customers to what they'd like to see in the range. So it's certainly a possibility for the future.
It is, Robin. We're going to do one.
We are. Okay, excellent. Thank you, James.
There's a huge amount of momentum in development in optimal audio. So we're always gathering what customers need and making sure that we've got a really clear roadmap. But we've got a very, very full roadmap for the next 3 to 5 years. So you're going to see a lot more products from us.
Mark, there are presets within Zone for some smaller Martin Audio speakers. So Adorn CD5 and 6, I believe, are in there.
Yeah, Al, perhaps you could show the list of the speaker processing presets that we ship with.
Yep, so let's navigate.
And outputs, that's right. Yeah. So, no, sorry, go back a level. That's it, go amp output preset at the top of the amp output processing. There's your list of the presets we ship with. So there's a bunch of Martin Audio in there, Adorn, smaller CDDs. So that's the EQ and the limiters and the high pass filter all set for you.
So you have two EQ presets in there. The first one is your selected preset EQ, the voicing EQ for the loudspeakers, and that's our ability to do that is why the optimal speakers have an edge over competition. And then you have a user EQ, you have another 3 bands of EQ there for room EQ, user EQ, whatever you want to apply when you make the installation. As you can see, that's a full 3-band parametric with your various different filter types there.
Kevin, yes, you can create your own speaker profiles and save those into the same preset library. We don't currently have an import-export feature, but if you want to duplicate those across systems, they can be copied from the SD card, just cloned across into another unit.
Does the zone controller need to be on the network full time?
If you want web app access, then yes.
Okay.
It doesn't rely on the network or the internet for any other features.
If you have the zone pad 4, can you elect not to have certain zones active, or they're all active once you put the 4 zone pad in the mix?
They are all active on that device. You can lock them out from the web interface, but not on zone pad currently.
But you can lock out zone 4, for instance, so you couldn't control it in one room if you didn't want them to have access to it.
Only within web app at the moment.
Okay. Any other questions that anybody has? Wait for another second or two, see if anything else rolls in.
One for you guys at the bottom.
The answer, oh, you can simply source this from BTX. Yes, if you're a BTX dealer already, you can buy it right now from BTX today. Talk to your salesperson in your region. They can help you out with both inventory and pricing, all of that. Thank you, Kevin. Well, it looks like our questions have started to slow down. If there's no other questions, I want to thank Al and Robin for being with us today. As we mentioned, that recording will be coming out tomorrow. The products are in stock. You can get your pricing from your salesperson in your region or call in and we can help you get pricing however you need that. And if you're not currently a BTX dealer, we'd love to sign you up. So please contact BTX and we can help you with that process as well. If you have any other questions, please reach out to us and we're happy to help you. Again, thank the Optimal Audio team. We appreciate them being on the call with us today and providing their expertise. With that, I think we're done for the day. Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Thanks, everybody. Have a good day.
Yep, thank you.